Rev up your engines!
Well, Tesla's going to partially suspend production of Model Ys in China. Not make as many as they were planning to make. Stop making them the last week of December. Seems like they're not selling them. As the saying goes, they can build them, but will they buy them? Now, they've already lowered the prices up to 9% in China on them. The days of them making them higher and higher are gone with the drop of Tesla stock. Guess what? Old Elon isn't the richest man in the world anymore. Instead, it's the guy who's the head of the giant French conglomerate. You know it more as Louis Vuitton, the luxury French stuff. Well, guess what? He made luxury electric cars, Elon, so now he's been taken over by people who are selling Hennessy and things like that. You know? I guess the world isn't that bad if the richest guy is making rich things for people. Now, the companies they own include Hennessy, Moet, expensive champagne, right? A lot of it is a bubble, and a bubble is starting to burst. I guess not for Hennessy. I guess people are going to drink one way or the other. Maybe they'll buy cheaper booze and then he won't be rich anymore. Who knows? The fact that they're going to shut down production of them at the end of December, before he was racing, make as many as possible. Guess what? When you have too many of them lying around, the value goes down. Idea that everybody's going to be driving electric cars like in 10 minutes? Maybe not such a smart idea to put all your eggs in one basket. Here's a little two-faced irony, right? GM Stellantis are now rated as the worst automakers for fuel efficiency, yet they're both pushing electric vehicles. You know, the GM's head Mary says, oh, we want to be the future electric, this thing. But in reality, their gas mileage ratings are actually going down. Because, of course, people are buying big SUVs, big trucks, right? They say one thing, and they do the other. It turns out that both GM and Stellantis have decreased their fuel economy since 2016. It's actually going down. Not better. They're getting worse gas mileage and putting out more carbon dioxide. They see, oh, that's what the people want. They want big SUVs. They want big trucks, right? So they're getting worse gas mileage, yet they're claiming, oh, we're going to be carbon neutral by 2030 or whatever nonsense they're trying to throw out to people. It's just absurd. The baloney that comes out of these people's mouths when you see the actual on-the-road facts. Follow the money. Don't follow the talking CEOs that are full of baloney. And if anybody thinks that these places are going to be carbon neutral, now, of course, half of that stuff's just made up anyways. Well, we buy carbon credits over here, so that negates this. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, the nonsense that comes out of these things. And then when they prove that they're carbon neutral, it isn't going to mean anything because there'll be so many loopholes. And, well, we bought some of the rainforest in South America, so that offsets what we're building there. Hey, the rainforest is still there, right? Whether they buy credits from it or not. It's kind of ridiculous. M4099 says, my 09 Honda CR-V sounds like a diesel. The Honda dealership said it's normal. I checked a specialty Honda shop and they said it's no big deal. They get loud like that and click. It's great gas mileage, but it's loud. It's a 2009. When that vehicle was new, it was quiet. The first thing I'd say is have your valves adjusted. Hondas are different than a lot of cars. Those need their valves adjusted. Most cars have hydraulic lifters and stuff, so you never have to touch them. If the lifters break, you got to replace them. But there's no adjustment available for them. Hondas, you do have to adjust. I'd say go to a good guy and have your valves adjusted first. Then if it still sounds like a diesel, well, just keep putting oil and stuff in it because it's worn. But originally, that did not sound like a diesel. It did not. I've worked on many 09 CR-Vs, and they weren't particularly noisy. It is an IV Tech engine, so it's got variable valve timing. As they age, the variable valve timing things do make more noise, but it shouldn't sound like a diesel engine. Pro Condor says, I'm being forced to buy another car. I got a 2015 Hyundai Elantra with 98,000 miles. I had noise, but I didn't think about it. I took it to the dealer, and they said it's piston slap, and they said they'll order me a new motor because it's out of warranty. So I'm going to get rid of it because I don't want to spend $7,000 for a new motor. What should I look for? I'm looking at Honda, Toyota, or VW with TDI. Forget Volkswagens, they're money pits, right? Toyota and Honda, they make the best vehicles in the world. You're looking for something like a Elantra size. Pick out whatever you like. Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, whatever you like. They're excellent made vehicles. Now, this just proves what I've been telling people for ages, that the Hyundais are crap. You got a 2015. It's only 7 years old, right? And the engine's only got 98,000 that's shot already. Now, they had warranties for some of them, but they said, oh, yours is out of warranty now, which is kind of interesting because a lot of the times the Hyundais made a big deal about giving 100,000 mile warranties. I would check into the warranty further, and I would also look into class action lawsuits that people have, and if there are any, get into it. Join it, because even if you sell the car, you're losing money because the engines, you might be able to get money in a class action suit. See if there are any, join one. But of course. Don't ever buy another Hyundai and you won't get in that position in the first place. That's why I warn people. I'm here to help people out. Don't buy junk. If everybody buys junk, the people will continue to make junk. If eventually everybody realizes that's junk, we're not buying it, guess what? The company goes out of business and that's the end of it. And then people aren't going to buy them and aren't going to get stuck. But if you keep buying junk, guess what? They'll keep building junk. Goose says, why are so many people against salvage titles? I got a 2014 Lexus GS 350 all-wheel drives, have been totaled at least 3 times. Runs like a clock. I believe in getting rebuilt or salvage. Why don't people like it? Well, they don't like it because it's a gigantic gamble. That's a Lexus. Very well built. So if it was in big wrecks and it was fixed correctly, it can still be good. They're well-built vehicles. But for most people, if you have a salvage title, that means the car was totaled by an insurance company. Now, most of the time, it's for a very big reason, especially if it was flooded. Because flood waters, hey, it might work perfectly fine now. But then a year later, all the corrosion eats up the computer modules, the wiring, and car goes to the junkyard because it costs so much to fix. Trying to figure out what's wrong and buying all the computer parts, you junk the car. It is a gamble. Now, on the other hand, I've had a few people buy salvage titles and be totally happy with them. Sometimes the cars were totaled for bad reasons. A guy in Rhode Island, he got it dirt cheap, 15 grand. It said in one of these big salvage lots that it had a frame bent, but it didn't. Somebody in the insurance company either made a mistake or lied so the guy could get his car totaled and get something else. And he checked it out in their giant lot and said that frame wasn't bent. And he bought it for like 15, and then he ended up selling it for like 40 something because it didn't have a bent frame on it. So there's always holes. Good cars might fall through, but generally salvage cars were totaled by an insurance company for a good reason, and you don't want to get your hands on one. Deuce Vult says, which shock struts should I buy? I'm looking for some general advice. I've seen your videos recommending KYB, but I wonder what you think of Chinese-made stuff like Detroit axles and many others. We're going to drive the vehicle till the wheels come off, so I want quality without breaking the bank. It's an 03 Toyota Sequoia. Go KYB. They're quality. They're not going to break the bank. Yeah, you might spend 30, 40 bucks more than the cheaper ones, but their cheap Chinese stuff is exactly that. Had a Chinese company send me struts for my wife's Lexus years ago, right? They're the original struts, and it's an 02. I put them on. They rode worse than the original struts that were 15 years old at the time. Put the old ones back on. They even sat wrong. They were built too tall, so the car sat up in the front higher. You don't want to buy that junk. It's just, there's no quality in it. You're better spending a little bit more like KB. I mean, if you're a fanatic, you can get Bilsteins, but they cost a whole bunch more. And I don't know that they last any longer. Those are more performance for racing, and you're driving a Toyota Sequoia. It's not a race car. It's a big old SUV. So KYBs, you should be totally happy with them. But don't go to the discount stores and buy their stuff, because most of it is junk, especially Monroe. Monroe makes crap. I would never put Monroes on those things. They're so cheaply made. A lot of times, they're just like the Chinese ones. They actually ride worse than the old ones did because they're just so cheaply made. Chris T.T. Boda says, Scotty, please read this. You won't believe it. There's a company in Czechoslovakia that made solar panel cars. The founders now admit they failed, but they still hope people will believe in them and bring it to a successful end. Jonah Christians and Lauren Hahn, the founders of these solar cars, have now come forward to employees and supporters to say they failed. They don't have enough money. They brought the company to the edge of bankruptcy. Now they hope the people will save her. The founders of Sono Motors say if 3,500 people send 500 euros each, they can continue their work. Originally, they claimed the production would start in 2019 to 2020, but it hasn't been launched. Christians and Hahn are worried if they don't manage to get enough money, they'll have to return all the collected funds to the interested parties. And their project, Scion, will come to a halt. And they'll jump into regular solar panels, which they had more experience and which is more profitable. What do you think of that? Yeah, it sounds like they're just trying to con more people out of money to try to their experiment, which solar-powered cars are a joke. Solar panels are too small. I've seen solar-paneled cars, but they were experimental ones that they have in those trials where who gets the best gas mileage, and they're little things made out of plastic and fiberglass that don't weigh 300-400 pounds. They're not actual cars that people drive around in. You might get a tiny boost with solar panels on a car. There's some they're working on that the fenders and the doors have panels built in so they get more electricity, but still, the panels don't create that much electricity. You're not going to be able to drive your car on solar panels. There's not enough power coming out. What's the saying go? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, so don't get shamed. Don't give any money to these guys. Lots of companies out there tried to build stuff. They never built them. I did a thing years ago. The Elio was a three-wheeled car, and they never made them. They made prototypes, but they never built any in Louisiana in the old Hummer factory. And they kept saying, we're going to future. They never did. Now they're saying, we're going to make electric versions. They still haven't. So, I mean, don't listen to these people. If they failed once, stay away from them. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.